We're
recording.
We're live.
No, hold on. Yeah, we are.
We're live from not New York, and it's Monday night.
And it's not Saturday night.
It's not Saturday night. It's Monday night, and this is just muted. Yeah. I lost my train of thought. I was hearing myself speaking. So there's about a 15 second delay. Yeah. So you're really not watching live. You're watching delayed 15 seconds. Delayed 15 seconds from Monday night in Mount Shasta.
There you go.
It's the Toltec Discussions with Golden Eagle. That's me, in case you couldn't figure that out. So one of the questions, let's start. I have one thing I'm going to show. We have a show and tell, and then I'm going to start with questions. Does anybody have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Where are we going to be on Saturday? Do we know yet?
Here.
Yay. Okay. Cool.
Here.
What time? Was it 10?
I think we said 10.
11?
Yeah,
It's a small class.
10 to 4, but it's probably, and we're going to be doing a.
Well, we will have some kind for those who are east of the Continental Divide. All of you, we're going to be making arrangements for you to view and participate live, but I don't have the exact method yet, so stay tuned. No other questions? We missed a week ago because of
Lots of snow.
blizzards and such like, and 2 whole weeks, and you don't have any other question than that. Okay, all right.
I forgot to look over my materials to bring questions with me before I came. My apologies. Beautiful.
Can that be seen well?
Yes.
This is more artwork from our own Yvonne Little Eagle, who taps in and does amazing work to bring these artistic pieces from the higher planes using the Akadwa. What's the story on this one, Little Eagle?
It's about stalking myself.
Stalking yourself.
And I'm a Gemini, so I'm a twin.
There you go. I like it. Put that back over there so I don't destroy it. This one is amazing. It's absolutely incredible.
Wow.
Tell us about this one, Little
Well,
Eagle.
that's me down there, and that's my assemblage point, that white bit in my back. That's going up, and that's my true will angel. And the 2 jaguars are walking the matrix, and they have the assemblage point. They carry assemblage points on their back. And that's the Katawa symbol down there for. And also that green thing above that one jaguar is sacred geometry with the 1 eye in it.
Okay, well, I see a big problem with this one, so I'm going to have to confiscate it. I don't know exactly what's wrong with it.
You'll figure it out. Give it a couple of years.
But after a couple of years hanging on the wall in my private library, this one it'll probably come to me. Give that back to her before I
Thank you
destroy
for
it.
letting me share.
No, I regret we didn't get that done last time. That was my fault. And keep up the excellent
thank
work.
you. I'm working on a Mayan piece right now.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, so Saturday is the Spiritual Essentials class. There are still a few openings left if you want to come. The course is generally thought of as being a gateway drug to higher plane drugs like shamanism or any other legitimate ism. It's if you're not sure of your path and you want to shorten the process of figuring out the legitimate stuff from the fluffy stuff. This class is based on the 20 or 30 years that Bonnie and I each spent independently, mostly trying to figure out what the legit stuff was and sorting through it, and somehow we ended up in the legit stuff. With just a few basic things, you can shorten that drastically. And it also talks about basic spiritual skills that everybody who's doing any kind of spiritual work really needs to master. Things like setting altars and grounding and learning how to keep your vibration high in a world where that's not the norm by any means. Not the norm at all. And fact, the world will try every possible means, both fair and unfair, both legal and illegal, to pull you down. So don't do that. Don't allow that. You set your own boundaries. So spiritual essentials will really helps that. And no matter how advanced you are, there's some things that we teach in here that I think will help everyone. And it's looking like the student body mix this time, on average, is going to be less beginner-like and more intermediate-like. We'll probably morph the class into more intermediate kind of material. So we hope that, if you've already got your ABCs down, we're not going to start by teaching you the alphabet. We're going to actually assume that you know it.
I was just gonna say, so basically, all the students of ITSA should be there, whether you've taken the class or not before, and because there will be new material, and this is an entry level class for the shamanic work that we're doing in the school, which means you should have all this down, and that leaves room for more discussion. And it will also be a good follow-up from the level 4 for us all to get back in the same reality.
And I like to say that I'll have to check with Cheryl, my housemate who owns the house, but I'm sure it's okay if we have overnight guests.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm offering that to the students.
Okay.
So
if you didn't hear that, Yvonne Legal thinks they may have room for a possible overnight guest or two if somebody from outside the area wants to come up either Friday night, so they're already here Saturday morning, or Saturday night, probably if they don't want to drive all the way back to Reading, leaving here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because with the way Caltrans runs things, who knows if you'll make it home that day.
You could be stuck here forever.
Yeah.
That would not be bad.
Just reiterate the fact that we are making an attempt for students, and if you have a specific invited guest, please know they're still welcome, but we need to know, because that's going to depend on how we tailor the class, and we could arrange something online, but right now that offer is just for students out of the area.
Right. So
I'll be there.
Okay, good. Let's see. One of the things.
Sorry, I just wanted to let you know that Nina and Maria are online. Maria's going to be in and out because she's working on pipes with her hairdryer and antifreeze.
Oh no.
And and she says about your pictures, gorgeous, Yvonne.
Oh, thank you.
And
Maria.
then Nina's with us, and she tells us that there's an owl outside on our front porch. And I just had mentioned to her, wow, there's an owl on the altar tonight. And at the same time, you said, and everybody needs to know how to set an altar.
Oh, wow.
So,
There is an owl outside.
yeah.
The owls here are actually fairly rare. I'll ask her, and she can
She
type an
said
answer.
there's a outside your porch, is what she said.
Outside our porch. Was
Yeah.
it like on the porch, in the tree? I'm just kind of curious. On the little flower thing that holds up the wisteria bush? we like owls a lot, and they're actually not common here in Mount Shasta.
Maybe it's coyote.
Maybe. He's been known to take form of an owl before. One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight is time travel.
Hey,
Does everyone know how to time travel?
well, I learned something at our level 4 class.
No,
Yeah.
not that one. Other time travel.
No, not me.
That's a shame.
Go back in time or go forward in time?
Forward in time, back.
I do it somehow.
I'm learning some stuff from EJ.
See, the thing is, you may not realize it, but you all, I think, have a time travel skill at your disposal. Whether you're using it or not, I don't know. I hope so.
It's not working. You know, I have done some going back in the timeline.
Okay, that's not quite what I'm referring to. I'll wait until Little Eagle gets back because I want her to hear this.
Dina said when we're standing on the porch, look up and it's straight ahead in the tree in that field. Probably Joe's yard.
Oh, just the one
Yeah.
right. Oh, that's so cool. So, what I'm referring to is especially the transmission of information through time.
Fax machine?
That's more space. But you're close, actually.
So how do you classify downloading when that's a form of
Well, you guys
Time
are making
travel.
this way too complicated.
Yeah, well.
What are you doing to that paper right now?
what do you mean?
What are you doing to that paper right now?
Communication,
Writing.
unconsciousness.
Writing. Is a form of time travel.
Oh.
The whole purpose of writing something down is to send that information forward in time.
Okay.
When you read it, the whole purpose, the main purpose, is to send your consciousness backwards in time. That form of time travel usually isn't thought of as time travel. Oh, just write it down. Cursive. Nobody does cursive anymore. That's so last century, right? Like, let me tell you, when you read some of like the ancient genealogical records that we review from time to time, this elegant script,
Mhm.
it puts all modern calligraphers to shame. And that was the bad handwriting. And it actually, doing that genealogical work, going back in time, this is kind of like what EJ does as coins, we do with genealogical records. Put your consciousness back in time. That's caused me to change and improve my handwriting. Just looking at that and going, And so, as a time travel communication method, reading, it only works if you turn it on, right? You actually have to read. There's that old joke about what's the difference between a person who cannot read, was never taught apparently, and a person who knows how to read but chooses not to. There's no difference. They both have turned off receiving of new information. So you're all writing notes tonight. When was the last time you read the notes you took 2 weeks ago?
Over between last time and this time.
Good.
I've looked at my notes.
Good. That's what you're supposed to do. I can't tell you the number of times when I was studying in the way too many years I spent in college, and classmates would, oh man, I don't know this, I don't know that. It's like, did you take notes? Yeah. Did you read them? Huh?
In fact, all the level 4 class, I went through all that for my homework and wrote notes from my notes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And that was a really good
Yeah.
Yeah. That,
blueprint in my nervous system.
yes. Which is exactly what it's intended to do.
Yeah.
I've done that with Coyote's class when I was studying with him. I would write as best I could, and then I quickly learned after the first couple of workshops or classes to either that day or the next day at the latest rewrite my notes.
Yeah.
Complete sentences. I have that bad habit when I'm in a hurry where the last letter or two of a word I'll drop off and start the next word, sometimes without even leaving a space.
Mm-hmm.
I sit here scratching at this, reading. So if you do it while it's fresh in your mind, that's excellent.
Yeah, and also with the exercises that we did, there's some kind of remnants on the ethers that seem to come in and
Yeah.
like download them physically.
Well,
That's the time travel part, right?
yeah. So for those of you who are not yet level 4, who weren't at this level 4 class, we have some more advanced exercises we do at that level, and that's what we're talking about. And we will eagerly await your arrival at the next level 4 class to learn that same material. But no matter what exercise we're talking about, the key is to do what your homework was at the end of the level 4 class, was to go home and repeat each one of those exercises several times until you can do them without having to look at your notes. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the goal. And once you've got it to that level, then they become tools you can use. So leaving that level 4 class, for example, as a group, because we accomplish things as a group in the Toltec work that are impossible alone. Not even I and Bonnie together could have created that kind of synergy and that kind of space. And we're good. We know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the group working together with the ancestors, and then we went someplace very real. And then your job coming out of that was to come back into this physical reality and maintain that new higher level of functioning and performance. And the instruction given you at the time was every one of those exercises, repeat it. Stay grounded to the extent that you have an attachment here to the plane that we're working in, but then keep your consciousness vibrating as high as you can and not get sucked back into the blue pill world reality of soap operas and game shows and Super Bowls and all that hoo-ha. I heard the Super Bowl was a real dud this year, and that makes me laugh.
I hear it was the worst ever. The worst one that ever was. It was boring, they said.
All those billions of dollars. On
Sarah's
nothing.
here.
Hi,
Sarah's
Sarah.
online. Hey, Sarah.
Hi, Maria. Hi, Nina.
Hi, guys.
So the skills that we learn in this system, this school, have a couple of main objectives. The main objective number 1 is for me as the teacher to laugh at you as you struggle to master this. I need a good laugh every now and then. Did what? Oh.
I'm writing that down.
That's fine.
I did one of the exercises in dream time, and it was really like, oh my god, it was really intense.
Yeah. I had gotten to a point once, and then I asked Coyote, well, what's the next step from this? He said, do it in the dreaming on whatever the exercise was.
Yeah,
And I have now.
it downloads.
Yeah. So, what are the two main objectives, at least first here, that you're supposed to be working towards?
Discipline and
Mm-mm. That's a tool that you use to accomplish the first two main goals.
what was the question again?
What are the first two main goals all this work is trying to help you accomplish?
Kind of the overarching goal of, for the good of the beings everywhere, create a better world for the good
Okay,
world.
of the three goals that you're supposed to accomplish, that being one,
Okay.
working towards the betterment of humanity, what are the other two?
Higher consciousness and using the four magics.
What for?
Uh,
Why?
for higher level consciousness,
Why?
to be awake,
Why?
for true will.
Ding, 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 ding.
So was it consciousness and true will?
No. How do you find your true will?
Tapping into your spirit guide,
Your who?
your
holy
holy.
Ding, 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 ding.
We want prizes.
Woo, woo.
You're getting a bell.
We want prizes.
Prizes. How about a cold shower?
Ah!
No extra charge.
I guess
That's a surprise.
Yeah, that would be. You're here to do something.
Mhm.
Every one of you is here to do something. I don't know what it is that you do. At least a part of you does. The part of you that is your highest level of your consciousness, which is your essential self. The best way to make that connection with your essential self and your higher self is through your holy guardian angel, who was assigned you before you were born and is ready, willing, and able to assist in guiding you to your true will. Keep in mind, that's the prize, or at least the goal. And then once you know your true will, you have to go do it. So here's kind of a play on the reading question earlier. Who's worse off of these three people? The person who never wakes up and realizes that there's a true will, and so they never even look. The person who knows there is supposed to be something, but they never develop the discipline and the skills to close that gap. So they look, but they never find their true will. They never complete that connection with their angel. Or three, the person who completes the connection with their angel knows exactly what their true will is and then chooses not to do it.
C.
3.
Good. That's the person who's in the deepest yogurt come time for the karmic board or
Hint,
the
hint, hint.
or the what's that movie called? Something in Your Life, the Albert Brooks movie,
Defending your life.
Defending Your Life. Yeah, thank you. Leave it to
Like
the attorney.
movies. Oh yeah, that too.
But she was in the movie business.
Yeah.
So watch the movie Defending Your Life.
Yeah, we may do that one night for a movie night.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
Movie.
And as shocking as it may seem to any of you, I've actually met several people in that category C. They know exactly what it is they're supposed to be doing. And at last time I had any contact with them, which is many years, they were refusing to do it.
Yeah, when they heard God and they said no.
Yeah. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Really? So keep in mind, that's the whole objective. And the way you do that is all these other things you were rattling off earlier. Raising your consciousness, going to higher planes of consciousness, learning to function at the higher planes of consciousness, using the tree of life that I have over here. You'll see more of that on Saturday. As the roadmap to the higher planes of consciousness, and all these other skills and tools we have for building your attention, building your intent, knowing how to do all those things. The draining exercise, the social mask, the dreamer's stare, getting to the place of power like that. And then doing a lot of these other higher level skills that we did for the etheric, the astral, and so forth. So the purpose is all to give you a skill set, a toolbox. And that toolbox then is used to accomplish the knowledge and conversation with your holy guardian angel and the knowledge of your true will. Now, let me warn you, you're seldom going to get more than 1 or 2 steps, at least not at first. You're going to say, oh, my true will is to do this. Okay, you go off and do that, and maybe that takes years. And then it's like, okay, now go do this. And like, wait, I just spent years doing this. Yeah, that's a great step. You'll need those skills later. Now do the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of reasons for that. One is, some 15, 20 years ago, if I'd had the whole path that I followed laid out before me, I would have been just like this other person, possibly, who said, ain't no freaking way I'm going to go do that. I'm a rocket scientist, darn it. I'm not intuitive, and I'm not a shaman.
That would have freaked you out while you were working at the rock.
Yeah.
NASA.
So probably just as well. And your holy guardian angel knows you and can tap in with the higher sources anytime. Hey, what about this? Should I tell her that? No, don't tell her that.
Absolutely not.
And
She's not ready.
there's the phenomenon where ask and you shall receive, but you damn well better be ready to do what you asked for.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's not just about knowledge and acquiring knowledge. Once you've been granted that knowledge, then you have to act on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of the whole thing about to those who much is given, much is expected.
There's a responsibility.
Yeah.
And one of the clients I had way back in the day, the one I usually tell the story about, because it was the first time I ran into it, and boy, was I shocked. It was like that individual's life was absolutely falling apart. Physical health, mental health, emotional health, physical surroundings. It was just like the book of Job in the Bible. It's like everything that could go wrong was going wrong. And see, that's why I didn't leave them over here. I left those drawings over there for you to destroy by throwing them on the floor. And that way it's on you, not me.
We need to invest in a travel portfolio for you.
There you go.
Yes, artists have these big things like a
Yes.
case,
Yes.
and they're usually
You
expandable.
don't like my garbage bag.
Soft-sided.
It won't protect it from much.
Yeah, I know.
So anyway, but yeah, that's the key. So you have at your disposal now, over the last year and a half-ish, whatever we've been doing this, whenever any of you came along, you have a lot of skills. You have a lot of tools in your toolbox, and my intent, the intent of this lineage in teaching you this material, is that you're going to actually use it. And there's a lot of ways you should actually be using it. One of the things you should do is using these kind of skills, access to the higher planes, the meditations we've taught, to work on the application of this project. Several of you working on community, the year-long effort that we're engaged in to identify and plan your process for a better model. Remember the better model, the Bucky Fuller thing? Is you don't fix problems by trying to fix the existing problems. You create something new that makes the existing problems obsolete, the existing methods obsolete. So, you know, airliners to cross the ocean instead of steamships, for example. They were making steamships as fast as they could possibly go. There's a ratio between size and power and the propellers and drag in the ocean and all of that. And there's a maximum speed at which a big ship can go. You want to get across the ocean faster? You couldn't until somebody flew across the ocean and said, hey, wow, I got here really quick because it's a better model. So some of you are supposed to be working on community. So get together, meet, talk, figure out how you're going to get the word out on a better model of community. And maybe community is too big and broad. Maybe you need to narrow it down. Oh, I just only want to work on this one little aspect of community, you know, like farming and food production and or whatever aspect of the Toltec philosophy you're going to focus on. Some of you may want to focus on children because that's our future, okay, is the children. Another way you're supposed to be using these skills then is the contact with your holy guardian angel. What you're going for is to go into the meditative state that you've been taught. And if you haven't been taught it yet, some of that will be covered in the Spiritual Essentials class. If you live too far away and you're east of the Continental Divide, we'll hook you up. If you're on this side of the Continental Divide and you're too far away, call us, contact us, and we'll see what we can do. There's meditation skills specifically aimed at getting you to the point where you're conscious in your meditative state, having a conversation with your holy guardian angel that's as clear as this one is. And if you're really good, it'll be more clear, because I have a frog in my throat tonight. So work on your project, your year-long homework project, and work on contacting your holy guardian angel and learning more about your true will. We're kind of at a little plateau here in the school's activities. For those who did go through level 4 class, you've just gone up another major level in the video game, Earth, as I call it. And now it's time to master the skills here. You got to run around, look under all the rocks, find all the treasure chests, the keys, find out where the gremlins are that you have to slay. Sometimes there's an order to all this. You got to pick up this before that, rather than that before this. And your job is to master this level to get ready for something else. Ah, she says. And it's not necessarily the level 5. Okay, that's going to take you years. Any of you, years. to get ready for level 5. So place no expectations on advancing yet another level quickly. But
After
do-
Master 4 yet.
Yeah,
I
but
know,
do
right?
place expectations on the process you're going through. And don't rush it.
Mhm.
You know, it's the old analogy that 9 women in 1 month cannot make a baby. Right? So go through your process. Practice these skills. Know that the school has 2 or 3 things that we're working on as a group. And it's, as you saw in the level 4 intensive, that group work can be very powerful. The group work is the key. This is one of the handful of secrets that we share in the Toltec lineage, the Toltec work. Most other systems don't have that. They don't do that. They don't train people to work with linked consciousness. I don't go out and say all, because who knows? On the other side of the world, in a jungle someplace, there may be a tribe where they've learned how to do this, and it's so good for them. I suspect that may have been more true in the past than it is today, unfortunately. So part of our work is we are reawakening humanity to these skills, these possibilities. This is part of my work this year, this year-long thing that I'm working on, of getting information out in different ways to let people know what is possible. If you spend any time on Facebook or watching, what are those boxes called? They sit in the corner of a room and light and sound comes out.
Televisions?
Oh, that's it, television. It's the, I just call it the brainwashing programming box because of the frequencies it has. It's designed to dumb you down. So that's why you look around our room and we don't have one. Question?
Question from Nina Devine. What are the ethics in regarding grouped linked consciousness? And then in group linked consciousness, do we have permission to connect in with the group link? Or are the boundaries, etc., needing to ask permission before linking or logging?
That's an excellent question. When we're working as a group in our school, in our lineage, it's not like we're going to be linking with each other randomly throughout the day. Usually we're going to be working on a specific task. So as an example, there's been a number of times over the years where Coyote wanted to do a major shamanic consciousness operation, and he would say, okay, there'll be he'd get online, do a broadcast, or at least a phone call at a certain time. We all tune in. He gives us instructions. Then maybe the link, the video link would go down. We would all go off and do our tasks in the astral, and then we'd come back at a certain time and compare results. And that's a case where it's a specific operation for a specific task. We're going to link and we're going to do that. So, you know, if Nina's sitting at home and she's clipping her toenails and eating her ice cream, the last thing she wants is Yvonne jumping in the middle and linking. Hey, Nina, do you want to do this now? So the ethics are such that it should be planned, unless there's an emergency and someone's in trouble, in which case, absolutely positively, come to me, come to the group as a whole, come to the lineage, anybody in the lineage behind me, and say, help. And when that call comes in, we go.
Mhm,
Some of you have experienced that.
mhm.
So I hope that answers your question.
She meant pogging, not logging.
Oh, pogging.
And I know what I would say with the pogging is that, I think in general we want to pog all the time. There's a consistent effort to do that when we're engaged in like a week long or weekend long, or people are on the road still who are coming to or leaving from an event.
Right.
But I think, it's really no different than just thinking about a person, and in which case there's going to be that ping, coming in, and you may or may not notice it, but it's just keeping our beehive, linked on a sonar level.
And the more,
Go ahead.
and the more we practice as a group, we get to know everyone's energy signatures on the higher planes the way we do. Like I can glance across the room and say, oh, I think that's Bonnie right there. Yeah, that's Bonnie. You go through that process and you learn it. And it's like when Coyote was at the level 4 class. Some of you caught it. Some of you didn't know if it was him or not a couple of times.
Mhm.
Bonnie and I were kind of laughing because, we knew.
He even told me one time not to tell you, Coyote, so, but yeah, I mean, so on one hand, we are linked to the lineage, and the lineage is there, and there is a code of ethics that we're not peeping toms necessarily, but at the same time, there is a link that we can connect with, and we want to be respectful of that, both on the etheric and on the physical. So it's the same kind of like, sending a group message and including people without checking in with them first, or what is the subject matter as far as why I need to be involved in this group chat or whatever it might be.
But even aside from that, just astrally, etherically, especially if you have a question or you need assistance, I encourage you all to use those lines of communication. The day may come where we don't have this cable going off to a box down the road to internet land, and we have to be able to communicate. So
Use Jaguar.
yeah, there's ways of doing that. So the group work, every time we get together as a group and we work, our energy fields are rubbing up against each other. And just like you can take a piece of iron on a magnet and you rub it, this will become a magnet. That's how the Akadwa used to be transmitted, is you just worked closely with the Nawal for years and you got it kind of by osmosis.
That's what you were talking about.
Resonance, that magnetic induction is the proper term. So
Magnetic.
the work we do together, the pogging, working on a common focused task, whether it's in a garden, whether it's preparing a meal, like those of you who had an opportunity to work with Aurea over here during the intensive on meal prep, it hopefully was a pleasant educational experience for you to see what higher levels can be when you apply these skills. You take something that's very common and all of a sudden it's very high. And the results are incredible. And you can do that with cleaning the house, which we did today. You can do that with any activity and turn it into a higher level activity that builds your personal power.
Now, Fortune says it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, she's right. So this group work, this whole notion that we can upgrade our consciousness, that is uniquely Toltec. Nobody else talks about that. I haven't ever heard of anybody really talking about it, at the least not at the level that we do it. And there's reasons behind that, besides just giving me an occasional laugh. Not that that's a bad reason, okay, but there are more. We are working to modify our physical bodies, especially our nervous systems, that will help create links to our light bodies. So the etheric body, astral body, and so on up the chain. We're creating new organs in each of those bodies. We're creating more links between each of those bodies. And why? Why are we doing all that?
So we have a stronger, more conscious spiritual body that can navigate in the upper planes and potentially the dream world, the bardo, and all that.
That's one reason.
And so we don't melt down like an M&M when we go through the abyss.
That's another good reason.
You're a biological machine to strengthen it.
Yes, to place it under conscious control of our essence.
Mm-hmm.
The target of all this work has nothing to do with our physical bodies, our light bodies, or any of that. The target of evolution is our essential self. The essential self has a certain level of potential. Each lifetime adds to that potential and what's there. And the goal is to modify that, the essential self, that eternal part of you, and to upgrade it to higher capabilities. These lifetimes we take, these incarnations in these biological machines, the primary purpose is to modify the essential self. All this other work we're doing is a means towards that end. So what is the ultimate end of modifying your essential self?
Seems like it would be twofold. One would be so that you could accomplish your will here, and B, so that you have raised your vibration to the point where you can transcend or, be beyond reincarnation.
That transcend word is part of it.
Okay.
What is the translation of the name of the city of Teotihuacan?
Oh, it's to reach your sun.
The city where gods are made, forged.
The city where gods are forged, or the city where gods are made. The early translations that were botched by the early Spanish invaders that merely called it the city of the gods, that is incorrect and incomplete. The intent of the Toltec work is to create gods.
The owl was hooting when you
Just
said
now?
that. It's been hooting while you said that.
Cool. I gotta go out and see if I can see it when we're done here
I know, right?
and welcome it. Everybody just send a message of welcome out there to our owl friend. That's what we're doing here.
So is that merging with our holy guardian angel?
No, it's that's a good question, but I'll answer another time. Write it down with a little action item thing next to it to ask me later.
Okay.
That's time travel of the essential self, isn't it?
Yeah, in a way. The purpose of all this work is to become gods. And all that would imply. This is the training ground. The process can happen here in the physical world in a way that it's not possible at the higher planes. Beings who are only spirit beings who've never incarnated cannot accomplish that task. That's what the Toltec work has been from time immemorial. The Toltec specifically, along with all the other closely allied esoteric schools, all of which date back, when you follow the threads, go back to Atlantis. That's what the Atlantean work was. It got horribly sidetracked towards the end, which is another story for another day. But ultimately, that's what we're doing. And if that notion or concept is a little bit scary and awe-inspiring, well, good. You should take it seriously. When you look at the world around us, I don't want to dwell on this too much. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot that is endeavoring to pull you down off your high frequency. When we watched the movie The Celestine Prophecy, and there's a one scene where they've transcended, they're on that, vibrating on the higher plane, they can see the lower plane, the people on the lower frequency can't see them, and something happens to induce fear, and boom, all of them except one, right back down. That's the goal of most of what's happening in the world out there. The world of politics, the world of the blue pill world, as I call it. And I borrow that phrase very freely from the Matrix films, because they called it that first. So that's what we're guarding against. It's not just, oh, I went to a class, I'm supposed to be doing this. There's an end here. Normally, that process takes many, many lifetimes. And the goal is to shorten it using these Toltec techniques. Working in a group with focused attention on that one main intent, that concept of transcendence and becoming gods is possible in this lifetime. Certainly not easy. But it's possible. Is our question.
Yeah, so Nina wants to know why. Why can't beings in higher consciousness realms reach this space? Why does it require the physical experience? He said that being in the higher realms, you can't achieve this
Right.
transcendence.
Let me think of the best way to explain this for you. Part of it is kind of like an electrical circuit analogy. You have to have a voltage difference to drive a current. And from the higher planes to the higher planes, you're at the same voltage. By coming down here, there's now a potential difference that can drive a current. And it's that current that we care about for transformation. The other aspect is the experience that is gained in a physical body and how to live and utilize polarity is crucial on what a God does. Gods create, and the creation process requires that having mastered polarity. And you have to come down here into a polarity world to learn that. Otherwise, it's like watching a movie about somebody else who rides a bicycle, and you're trying to learn to ride a bike, but you actually have to get on the bicycle to learn it. You can't learn it by watching it. So people in the higher realms who watch what goes on down here, you don't have the same level of knowledge. It doesn't become ingrained as part of you. And you don't have that voltage difference driving the currents of transformation. That experience, that knowledge, is the one thing we get to take with us when these biological machines die. That's discussed in many scriptures from many cultures over time. That's it. That's all you get to take with you, is that experience and knowledge that you gain here. And that's one of the reasons why during the level 4, for example, I admonished you, keep learning. Keep learning all your life, never stop. Whenever you sit down to rest, keep learning. I've got 20 books in this house that I'm 2/3 done with. Because I've got a book in there and a book in here, and I got books there and books over there and books upstairs. And everywhere I go to sit down, it's like I got a book. And then I take that knowledge and I try to do something with it. Bonnie's the same way. So usually good things happen. Sometimes things blow up, but that's okay. She's blown up things, I've blown up
Goat
things.
cheese.
Goat cheese, a few others. We destroy a few things now and then. But that's called experience.
Mhm.
So, Nina, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, she said she's got it. My question about that though is, does it mean that you have to have incarnated in this, on this planet? Because obviously there's been other worlds and there will be
Sure.
other worlds, and you know, it seems like it's part of that, you know, whole learning process. Yeah, you have to go to school and learn things, but I can see what you mean about, you know, the return energy. There's a return of energy, and if creation keeps expanding out and expanding out and expanding out, and there's never a return. And so there needs to be this feed of the energy back, which means there has to be a polarity change
Right.
in the energy that's being expended out.
Let me try to answer your question, and you let me know if I got it. Your question. You've been to school, college, right?
A few times.
Yeah, just like me, way too much time in college. If you're in one school and you're halfway through your degree program and you decide to change majors, what happens?
Yeah, basically, or
Back to zero, and you
starting
got to start over and take a whole bunch of more remedial credits.
Mhm.
And then if you make it worse on yourself, then you switch universities completely. Now you're over at another college, and you're like, well, I don't know what to do with half of your credits. I'm sorry. You may have been in the middle of your junior year at Podunk U, but over here at Big Kid U, you're in the middle of your freshman year. Sorry. When we choose a world to incarnate in, I think the military term for that is being voluntold. Um,
That's a good one.
you've kind of hitched yourself to this star, this comet, this trajectory. And Earth, for example, goes around our solar system, orbits our galaxy once every 26,000 years. And you divide that 26,000 years into 12, and there's 12 energy currents we go through, and you have to master each one of those in order. And so, for example, the Piscean age just ended, the Aquarian age just started, and astrologers and astronomers everywhere can't agree on exactly what that dividing line is. Some say anywhere from 100 to 200 years ago to 100 or 200 years in the future, but based on the Toltec calendar, you know, the one the Mayans borrowed and they call the Mayan calendar now, it was 2012 was the time when that switch happened. So for lack of any proof otherwise, I'm going with that. The beings who incarnate here, who flunk the Piscean age, have to wait 24,000 years before Earth is in the Piscean age again. And they get to start incarnating again. So, assuming you pass all your classes as you go, once you've enrolled at University Earth, you're better off sticking with University Earth until you complete your process of becoming a god. If you happen to do it on another planet, then you do that planet's energy spiral series thing. But if you jump around on whims to this world, this world, this world, maybe you never finish that process. Maybe you're that 45-year-old who's still a freshman in college because you just can't quite decide what your major's going to be. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Question?
Can't? Okay, since all this has a lot to do with our assemblage points, why can't we do energy work on our own assemblage point to change the polarity, whether it's quantum healing or chelation or any of the other energy type works?
You can.
Oh.
In order to do that, there's a class I will teach later, maybe this year. You need a little more practice with what you've got concerning assemblage points. On how to use the assemblage point for a lot of what you just asked, especially healing.
Well,
Healing for others by working through their assemblage point, healing on yourself by working through your own.
I'm already doing that.
Okay, that's good. Work on it then. But there's very specific high-level techniques that are taught in the Toltec lineage that I will teach later on. You have to have gotten to level 4 to be able to do that. I couldn't have taught it to you last year because you weren't a level 4.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have that assemblage point skill implanted yet. Now you do. Now you do. So, good question. You're starting to look ahead. You're starting to play that chess game more like an intermediate than an amateur. You're seeing further down the road. Hopefully you will take this information tonight and think about it as you're working to master those level 4 skills. If you are watching this and you're not yet level 4, just know that there's a lot more waiting for you when you get to that point. And this work of humanity, this transcendence, a lot of this information about souls and incarnations is covered much more extensively in the Eastern literature, especially from India. It gets very detailed, soul groups and all of that. Groups of like 144,000 goes down to a core group of 144, and those are the souls we interact with the most over and over and over through time. And if you're interested in that, I've got a few books, but I know I have one, or at least I had one once upon a time, but I haven't been able to find. I've gone through every one looking for something, and it could be something that will happen to you at some point, is you're reading a book, a physical book, and you go, wow, that's really cool, and you read it, and then you go back to the same book, try to find what you read, and it's not there.
I've done that.
I've done it.
Because-
I've looked for it a week after I found it and it wasn't in the book.
Right. So that's happened to me a number of times. And a lot of it has to do with you're being shown a higher level version of that because it's information you're ready for and or you need at that time. And if you go back and look, it won't be there. So pay attention, another one of those Toltec words, to what you read as you read it, because until you know when you're reading the higher level book or the physical book. The first time it happened, it was amazing, but now I've gone, let me put it this way. The first time I became aware of it, it was amazing. And then when I look back, I realized there had been several other times where it had happened because later on, I went looking for something and it wasn't there. The book just, it'd be like a whole chapter that I read that is not there.
Right.
Wow.
And that's a good thing, being shown higher level stuff.
Maybe you're seeing what you were seeing with the White Brotherhood.
Yeah, yeah. So this this work that we do, part of it is we are doing our work for the benefit of all beings everywhere. Not everyone will ever know what we do. In fact, most will never know what we do. And the four properties, I guess you could say, of the Sphinx are important to remember. Do you remember what they are?
For properties?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
the Sphinx.
abilities of the Sphinx. Yeah, this is from the Hermetic line literature. To know, to will, to dare, and to be silent.
Can you explain each one, like,
Yeah,
briefly?
I will.
Please.
I was waiting for you to write them down.
Yeah.
In the hopes that you will later read these notes. To know, that's using basically the skills of the dreamer to figure out what it is that needs to be done. It includes some of the stalking skills to analyze the data, the information. To will is where you take that upon yourself. you make it part of your true will. Even if it's just a little step on the way to your true will. Say, okay, looking at what's in front of me, this is what needs to do. This is what needs to be done. I am going to do it. To dare is the skill of the warrior. It's to take action. You can have all the analysis lined up, but if you don't act, that moment is lost. If you remember my examples from orbital mechanics, if you want to launch a spacecraft to Mars, there's a window, usually about 2 weeks, where if you hit that window, your spaceship makes it to Mars. If you're ready to go and it's like, oh man, let's just go to the beach today. Okay, yeah, we'll launch tomorrow. The window closed. Your spaceship will never make it. Everybody on board will die, and it'll be all your fault. Because you blew off your responsibilities and went to the beach. And then to be silent means shut the heck up.
Just stop it.
Stop it. It means there's certain things that people don't need to know. Details of what we do in the school don't need to be shared with people who have no clue. When you go out and you do something, if the fact is known that you did something, can change what happens. If they simply know something was done, but they don't know by whom, it'll have a different effect. It's the Heisenberg uncertainty principle from modern physics. You can't you can't measure a system, you can't even look at it without affecting it. So we affect it as least as possible. It's the same reason we don't give armed thermonuclear weapons to first graders on the playground. Anybody who acts like a spoiled, crying child probably shouldn't have nuclear weapons to play with either.
You mean like our president?
I didn't say anything.
I did.
I'm just saying there should be a certain level of training required before you give someone a loaded thermonuclear weapon. Knowledge can be misused. So we don't give knowledge that has a potential to harm to those who lack the ethics to use it. So the powers of the Sphinx can be helpful if you keep them in mind. If it really resonates, yeah, you can hang them up on the wall, but just periodically when you read your notes, say, oh yeah, be silent. Oh yeah, I've analyzed, now I gotta go do. It's time to pull the trigger, it's time to launch the rocket. This is the window, this is the opportunity. Same principle behind the idea that you only get one chance to make a first impression. Second chance is no longer a first impression, it's a second impression. We're training gods. That means you, and you, and you, and you. Even me. Questions? Any other questions?
How can we use dream time to accelerate the force Sphinx? Four abilities of the Sphinx.
You're asking about dream time to accelerate the four abilities of the Sphinx? I don't like the word dream time.
Okay.
I know that's a common term. It's what the Australian Aboriginals use. I think of the Toltec lineage thinks of the dreaming as a place, not an activity.
Okay.
Dreaming is not a time when we do the dreaming process. It's a place we go. That place operates at a different frequency than this physical world. In that place, we learn to do work. So the work that you know how to do as a level 4 to activate and use your dream body, which is one of the skills that you're supposed to be repetitively engaging with, is going to cause you in the dreaming to be more effective, to be better at remembering your dreams, train yourself to get up and write them down, and over time, all those properties and skills will get better. So to know, that requires discernment. You practice that. Part of that knowing is learning to analyze. Any of those gaining skills can teach you reflexes, it can teach you to analyze. So whether it's chess or mahjong or electronic computer gaming, those are the kind of skills that you'll use in this physical life as well as in the dreaming. Your perception of the boundaries between this physical world and the dreaming world is going to become less distinct. You will be more aware of these different worlds as a continuum rather than distinctly A or distinctly B. You won't necessarily know which world you're in at times.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we make maps. Oh, the sun's rising in the east, that must be the physical world. Sun's rising in the west, from someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna stop here. It's a little short tonight, but I want to thank everyone for your efforts. And if you have questions, if you want to participate Saturday, please let us know.
What time does it start?
10 o'clock in the morning, not at night. Any other questions?
Serenity said hi,
Hi, Serenity.
Hi, Serenity.
and Nina's on her way over.
Cool.
Thank
you.
you,
All right.
Nina.
Thank you.
Is
We'll
there
let me-
Live long and prosper.
Is there anything we need to bring on Saturday?
Sarah says she's plans on being here, and let's talk about that offline.
Okay, let's go offline. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Good lecture.
This was awesome.
Thank you.
I'm gonna read these notes again tonight.
Good for you.